Hello, welcome to a quick mini Forest Focus podcast. As I record this, today's main podcast is going to drop in about an hour or so as I discuss moving stadiums with fans of Spurs, West Ham, and Everton, what it's been like for them and what they make of it, whether they've already moved or where they're going to. And it does feel pretty relevant this morning as Evangelos Marinakis has given a very rare interview to English media, with the big takeaway being a quote where he appears to make it clear his desire is not always to be at the City Ground, saying a move will set Nottingham Forest on the right path to make them a Premier League force. On the right path is the words he used. So with that in mind, I want to give a quick few thoughts on that interview with the Daily Mail, since it's what fans are talking about extensively this morning. The latest chapter in the back and forth of the future of the City Ground. It's an interesting piece. Once you get past the parts where it reads like a dating profile for the Forest owner, there's a lot of fluff around the edges. But when you get to the meat of the bones, it is interesting, and I think it does make it clear that he really wants what he feels is best for the club. He's pumped a lot of money in. He's got ambitions. He wants to take us to the top. But it's his way, I think, is the main takeaway. He's got his vision now, and it's real about turn in the last 6 months. All we've heard consistently is, the City Ground's our home. We're not moving, and you read the quote, and it does feel pretty clear that he wants the move away. And we'll get on to stuff about Toten shortly, but the quote in question says, it's clear the future of the City Ground needs resolving. That was in prose. And then Mr. Marinakis' quote is, it will change the history in years to come of the region and the team for our supporters. It'll be hard to leave the City Ground, but in an age when the revenue streams dictate success on the pitch, there's no doubt moving to a bigger facility will set the club on the right path. I'll just read it again if you kind of want to hear it again, so they know exactly what's said. It'll change the history in years to come of the region and the team for our supporters. It'll be hard to leave the City Ground, but in an age when revenue streams dictate success on the pitch, there's no doubt moving to a bigger facility will set the club on the right path. There is other stuff discussed in the article, of course, which would make another hour-long podcast in normal circumstances. But it's been that kind of season for Forest. He makes some good points about PSR, the way he's invested in the club. He discusses his gripes with VAR, as well as Sky and Gary Neville, and the way he feels they've portrayed him, and by extension, I guess, Nottingham Forest. But the focus of fans, like I say, is on one quote in a big article, and it is just one quote. It leaves a lot of questions. We haven't seen any defined plans, any kind of clear vision of what he wants the new stadium to be. I know that we've addressed already 50,000 seat stadium in Toten in a sports complex, but we haven't seen artists' impressions, the talk of transport infrastructure, how they'll make it work as a venue, the impact on Nottingham. You're moving a club out of a city centre, and I don't think that's been done for a long time. Obviously, MK Dons is the big example, and we're not talking about that here by any stretch, but the out-of-town stadiums, the Wigans and the Boltons, haven't been done for quite a while. St Mary's and stuff like that. Even dare I say, Pride Park. Taking a club out of a city centre is a very big step. So there needs to be a lot more flesh on the bone. But what he says, specifically saying no doubt moving to a bigger facility, does seem to rule out at the moment any chance of buying the freehold. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a negotiating tactic. And for those of us who want to stay, it feels a little bit wishful thinking. But what we do have is this kind of drip feed of back and forth of interviews. We've gone from Tom Cartledge, testing the water with the fan base, I would say. Then the City Council is drawn to respond, saying you can buy the freehold for 10 million quid. Fans yesterday saying that feels like a no-brainer, and then today you have the interview with the owner, and I guess supporters don't know which way to turn. It was interesting, like I referenced earlier, speaking the podcasts I've done with fans of other clubs, and one of the big talking points and conclusions from it is around location of stadium. And as I said, Toten is so far away. It doesn't feel like the solution to me. It feels like a very tough sell, personally, and I don't see particularly winning the fans over. So I don't know. I'll come on to that actually. I want to talk about winning the fans over, but another thing that Mr. Marinakis said is, basically saying a bigger stadium guarantees or it puts you on the path to success. And obviously it's a factor, but I don't think it's the defining factor. If you look at Villa, who are going to finish fourth in the Premier League at a very old stadium, I think it's 42,000 capacity. I think they cracked it. And there's a couple of key reasons in that. There's also Brighton as well, who are punching above their weight, and they cracked it, I would say. And there's a few consistent themes there that have made them do it. I think for Villa, it's and Brighton, the manager's key, especially in Villa's case. Unai Emery's turned them round, and they've also invested heavily in the team and in facilities. And Brighton have got the new stadium, which is smaller, but they're incredibly well run. Like recruitment is everything, and I think that's what I always keep coming back to: recruitment, consistency, and choice of manager feels like the key. A big stadium is a big factor and a big weight in your favour. But then you can look at Man United with Old Trafford, a big stadium, a stadium that's looks more like a waterfall at the moment, as we saw at the weekend. But they've got so much wrong off the pitch. I think those are the main things that you need to address. We're not an established Premier League club yet. We're only one season away from relegation. We're in that clutch of clubs, and we're probably at the forefront of it, having finished 17th this season. That if you mess things up in one single season, you're going to get relegated. And are we going to fill a 50,000 seat stadium in the Championship? Are we going to fill a 50,000 seat stadium in Toten? I don't know. Maybe we are in the Premier League, but I don't think we are in the Championship. Maybe that's me being overly conservative, which is probably my nature. I don't know. But the other thing is we're dividing a fan base again. We've already seen a divided fan base around ticket prices, and now we've got this. We've stayed in the Premier League, touch wood, so the timing's not as bad now. But the fans are such a huge asset, and is it wise to railroad through a stadium move? Is that what's happening? I don't know, because I don't think we should totally rule out a move. I don't want to talk in those terms. Just keep going back to location. If there's venues in Nottingham, near to the City ground that can be secured, then I wouldn't be totally against that. But I don't know why we're all getting away from redeveloping the City ground. Those plans that we saw 5 years ago looked amazing, and I'm sure they still turn out amazing. It feels like that's been pushed to the side as a dud solution now, and I don't think it is. I'll say this on the podcast later, and I said it yesterday, but redevelop the City ground and build a swanky training ground for the modern era in Toten feels like a great solution to me. Another thing is around listening to fans and the importance of fans, and you can't ignore them. And I really hope that there's going to be proper consultation. I suppose the other question is, there's going to be people watching this saying we're our own worst enemies. We're the Luddites holding back progress. If there's people who don't want to move, are we sailing into the wind of progress within football? Depending how you view progress, that's a whole other question. But if we don't move, are we going to, are the tide's going to push us back to the Championship if we don't move to keep pace with Spurs and West Ham and other teams who have much better facilities? And if we do move, are we going to surpass them? Are we going to surpass Newcastle and the big six clubs and Villa? It feels like to me like we've been moving to cling on to their coattails. Maybe that's me again being too negative, but if we get into a 50,000 seat stadium, are we going to get in the Champions League? Are we going to get into the Europa Conference League? And I think we could, but I think we could crack the top six, possibly if we're really well run. Going back to that, in terms of recruitment and having the right manager, and those are whole other debates we sort of touched on yesterday. I still keep Nuno, by the way, for next season. But I just feel like a big stadium isn't a guarantee of success. And then it comes down to the emotion of it, or, you know, do you want to move to a 50,000 seat stadium to kind of battle in the top half of the Premier League with no guarantee of competing higher than that? Are you sacrificing what it is to be a Forest fan to do that? Is it worth it, I suppose, is the question. That's for individuals to have their take on the history, the emotion of what it is of the City Ground. There's people who are going to watch this who are thinking, no, definitely not. And there's people who are thinking, well, you know, I want the club to progress and be the best it can, and that means moving. Personally, I still, like I keep saying, think redeveloping the City Ground is the right solution without seeing any of the plans. Certainly, moving to Toten doesn't feel right for me. It's ripping a football club out of the city. So that would be a massive sell. So I look forward to hearing more, because I don't look forward to hearing more, but we're going to hear more. I think this is going to keep rumbling on for years to come, unless suddenly, you know, this is all resolved and we buy the freehold. I guess nothing would surprise you with Forest. It's been a pretty tumultuous season, certainly. So that's where we're at. Do check out the podcast later, which is longer than this one. Speaking with the fans of the other clubs. It's really interesting to get their take on stadium moves and how they feel about it. Perhaps not what people would necessarily be expecting, or maybe it is. I don't know. Right, that's it from me. Drop your thoughts in below about basically I guess the confirmation that Evangelos Marinakis wants us to leave the City Ground, or certainly appears to. Is it wise? Do you agree with him? Do drop in what you think in the comments. Look forward to reading that. I don't normally do these short videos, but I just thought I should, because it's such a big issue. But yes, in the meantime, have a good day, and we shall see you soon.